name is Diane Wells, and I'm the chairperson of the Montclair Community Activities Commission and one of the hosts of this event. On behalf of our members, I want to welcome all of you who are watching or attending in person to view the 2022 General Municipal Election Candidates Forum tonight. The purpose of tonight's event is to help you become more informed about the candidates running for the mayor and the city council seats. This event is co-sponsored by the Montclair Community Activities Commission and the Montclair Chamber of Commerce. Before we start this evening, I want to mention that this year we offered 2 ways to submit questions. Until noon yesterday, questions for the candidates were able to be submitted through the city's website. At this time, questions can still be submitted if you are attending in person this evening. I would like to introduce our Community Activities Commissioners. Vice Chair Richard Escalante and Commissioners Darlene Ferrara, Laurie Milheiser, Arturo Padilla, and Rosa Rangel, and Alex Hernandez. If you have a question you would like to ask the candidates, please raise your hand and one of our commissioners will be happy to give you a question card and also retrieve it from you. We thank all of you who took the time to submit a question and want to remind you that due to the time constraints of the program, it's possible that not all questions submitted will be asked of the candidates. This forum is organized and structured, and to help us moderate tonight, it is my pleasure to introduce a member of the Montclair Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Tim Walborn. Tim is a lifelong area resident and attended Chaffee High School and Cal Poly Pomona. He currently operates Common Ground Mediation, a consulting firm advising small businesses and nonprofits. Tim has been serving the communities of Montclair and Ontario for over 15 years. He is currently a member of and past president of the Ontario Montclair Rotary Club and previously directed the local YMCA. Tim, we thank you for being here this evening to serve as the moderator of this event. And I will turn the program over to you.
Thank you, Diane. On behalf of the businesses in Montclair and the community citizens, we want to thank you candidates for spending some time with us tonight and letting us get to know you and hear a little bit about more what you're looking for in the city of Montclair. At this time, I would like everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and which will be led by Community Activities Commission Vice Chair Richard Escalante.
Hand over your heart. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Richard. Okay. Tonight, I will be moderating 3 segments of the forum. Candidates will make an opening statement, followed by a question and answer period, and concluding with closing statements. All segments will be timed by our timekeeper, Community Activities Commissioner Arturo Padilla, to my right. The forum will be taped and will air on the Government Access Channel, Channel 3, various days and times prior to Election Day. For your convenience, a flyer with the air dates and times is available on the campaign literature table located on the west wall. The forum can also be accessed on the city's website and on Facebook page and YouTube channel. All these viewing options will be available on October 17th, 2022. As you can see, the candidates who confirmed their participation in the forum are seated at the dais tonight. The seating arrangement for the candidates was determined by a random drawing earlier this evening. For opening statements, the rotation will be from east to west. We'll start over here, and we'll go that way. For the closing statements, the rotation will be from the west to the east. So we'll start with Mr. Dutrey, we'll end with Ms. Martinez. During the question and answer period, the rotation will be from east to west, beginning with one person to the west each new rotation. Each candidate will have the opportunity to make a 3-minute opening statement. The structure and content of the opening statement are at the discretion of the candidate. A typical opening statement may include the following: candidate's qualification, why a candidate regards themselves as the best leadership choice for the office, issues of importance to the candidate, and visionary comments regarding the candidate's outlook for Montclair. Candidates may wish to highlight their public service to the community and make observations regarding the need to maintain the status quo, or may want to make observations regarding their perceived need to change the established order. Each candidate will be advised when his opening statement is approaching the time limit and when their time is over. Each candidate should make concluding comments when the 1 minute remaining sign is held up. Okay? You'll be notified on your screen as well as by Xavier here. After the completion of all opening statements, candidates will respond to written questions that have been submitted. Questions may be addressed to the candidates in writing only. Members of the live audience will have an opportunity to prepare questions during the opening comments portion of the program. Representatives of the Montclair Community Activities Commission will collect the questions. Questions will be reviewed for the purpose and appropriateness and to eliminate duplications. Acceptable questions are those that have to do with a candidate's qualifications, experience, character, integrity, and honesty as they relate to the role and duties of being a city council member. As the moderator, I will address all questions to the candidates. I will present questions to candidates in the following manner. 1, questions of general interest and concern will be presented to all of you. 2, general questions will be randomly selected or can be directed toward a specific candidate. And 3, questions that have been submitted for a specific candidate may be selected and asked of the candidate. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. This is the process designated for this forum, and there will be no deviation in the format. Following the question and answer period, each candidate will have the opportunity to make a 3-minute closing statement. The structure and content of the closing statements are at the discretion of each candidate. A typical closing statement may include the following: rebuttal of comments, re-emphasis of a previous discussion, and the responsibility to vote. Each candidate will be advised when their closing statement is approaching the 1 minute mark. The candidate should then make concluding comments. All right, let's start with the first segment. Each of you will have 3 minutes to give us an opening statement. And I'm starting from the east to the west, so Ms. Martinez, you get to go first, and you have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone, and good evening. Everyone in attendance and also those that are watching this remotely tonight, thank you for your attendance and participation. My name is Corysa Martinez. I'm your council member. I have been acting as your council member, and I've been privileged to do so for the last 3 years. I've really been fortunate in many ways to follow amazing leadership and powerful leadership in our city that's allowed us to develop and expand and address the changing needs of our city, as we know is constant. I'm a wife, I'm a mother to a 3-year-old. We live in Montclair. He participates in sports in Montclair and goes to school here locally in Montclair as well. My day job is I'm an attorney. I practice law in all kinds of different areas, and I am a board member for Wahupa Educational Services. I do that on my spare time aside from the city. I currently serve as a city council liaison for Montclair's Community Activities Commission, the Chamber of Commerce. I'm a member of the Human Services, Public Works, and Real Estate Committees, the Montclair Junior Women's Club, and along with City Council, a director of the Montclair Housing Authority of Montclair Housing Corp. So I came from a working family here in Montclair as well. And what I love about our city is that we are made up of working class families. We enjoy all the benefits of having the small community feel. We get together for movies and concerts in the parks. We support our local high school, our school's games, and our residents are active at the council meetings, which is very important to developing our city. We care about our youth and our seniors, and the city highly values providing services for all of our residents to enjoy. In addition, though, we have a beautiful mall, new development, and lots of hope for the future. I've dreamed about being involved in local government since I was young. I've really modeled myself after my parents' involvement, my dad in the neighborhood partnership of Montclair back when that existed, my mom with the senior center, and then on council as well. I volunteered with the city's after-school program when I was young. Mount SAC, I joined student government. I went on to the University of Southern California, then to law school, and I got my master's in tax law. We're a diverse city with culture and history, but largely progressive, and my time on council has been dedicated to meeting those very specific needs of our city, and I hope to continue to do so. Thank you.
There we go. Thank you. Mr. Mendez, you now have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you. Greetings, Montclair friends and neighbors. My name is Xavier Mendez, and I'm running for City Council. I first want to thank the City of Montclair, the Montclair Community Activities Commission, and the Montclair Chamber of Commerce. During the 55 years of my life, I have been either a resident or an employee of the City of Montclair. Before recently retiring as the Public Works Superintendent, I had the privilege to serve this community 29 years as a member of the City of Montclair Public Works Department. I am proud of my dedicated service to the residents, community, and businesses of Montclair, and have always kept their best interests at heart. As the Public Works Superintendent, I oversaw multiple public works divisions focusing on the maintenance and beautification of our city. I am confident my 29 years of managerial experience and institutional knowledge gained while working with the City of Montclair will be an asset to the City Council as a member. As a manager, I worked hand in hand with other city departments to accomplish the goals and objectives of the city. The lasting relationships I built with the members of these departments will be beneficial in restoring our great city. As the superintendent, I was responsible for operations budgets of the Public Works Department and was always a stickler for getting the most bang for our buck. As you work hard for your money, I assure you I will work just as hard to safeguard your tax dollars. I believe in pride of ownership and that hard work is key to maintaining the infrastructure of this small but mighty city. Growing up here, attending the local schools, and working for the city has given me a set of unique qualifications. Working at the city in multiple positions has made me a well-rounded person who can identify with all groups of the community, including residents, shoppers, business owners, and their staff. I understand the needs of the people and am willing to listen and help address your concerns. What are some of my objectives and what is important to me? Like any resident, homeowner, or business owner, I am always concerned about my investment. I want to make sure this city continues to run smoothly and that the quality of life in Montclair continues to improve. Measure L was recently voted in to help preserve all of this by keeping public safety a top priority and investing in its staff and infrastructure. Tax revenue is very important to maintaining any city, so having developments that fall in line with the community's desires is vital to the city and its future. I am not the only choice for City Council, but I know you will not find someone that genuinely cares about this city's residents, business owners, and the community more than I do. Please help me to maintain the quality of living in Montclair we all deserve and get out and vote November 8th, 2022. Thank you very much.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Mr. Rue, you now have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Good evening. Thank you for attending both in person and virtually. I am Bill Rue, and I'm running for re-election to the Montclair City Council to continue the progress we have made. Progress which during my time on this council has brought us a new youth center, senior center, and a revitalized community center. Progress which ensures a college education for our youth with our Montclair to College program, and progress which has brought a revitalized Montclair Place. Progress which will bring more transportation options, including the Gold Line for our residents. I will continue our prudent and solid financial management, where even in difficult times, including a global pandemic, we have balanced the budget, cut spending, put money in reserves, and not raised your taxes. We have continued to provide necessary services such as our senior nutrition program, street sweeping, and created inoculation clinics for our residents. Also during this pandemic, as a trustee for the Montclair Hospital Medical Center, I witnessed firsthand the tireless efforts of our nurses and medical personnel, along with first responders. They are to be commended for their life-saving efforts, and I think we should applaud that effort. We do make public safety a priority. We spend more than 60% of our budget on public safety alone. In 2020, Montclair Police Department had 48 sworn positions and 7 dispatchers. Today, less than 2 years later, we have 56 sworn positions and 8 dispatchers. Since 2021, the city has added 7 budgeted police positions and 1 budgeted dispatcher. Public safety is a priority, and I repeat, we spend more than 60% of our budget on public safety. I've also heard about traffic. It is a concern I've always taken seriously. I propose to again reinstate motorcycle patrols. We helped to restore them once, we will do so again. I will implement demand lights which automatically adjust themselves to increase efficiency and reduce accidents. Our successes are simply a prologue to the future, which will see the Gold Line completed to Montclair and enable our residents to expand opportunities, and a future with a revitalized Saratoga Park ball fields, as well as improvements to fields where our youth compete. I pledge prudent financial decisions and effective planning to reduce costs, police and fire services which keep our communities and families safe. These are the principles which have always guided my commitment to this city, and they will continue to do so in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Ms. Orozco, you now have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Good evening. Thank you, everybody, for attending. I know it's late and you want to be home and watch a couple of the games. So thank you to the CAC Montclair Chamber of Commerce for attending. The city of Montclair has been my home for 21 plus years, where my husband of 37 years and I have raised 4 boys. I'm asking for your vote because we need to continue the momentum with the changes coming to Montclair. I believe the importance of working together to redevelop the city, including Montclair Place, and completing the transit station to bring the GO line to Montclair. Continue to improve street projects and parts of the city that have been underdeveloped. I will collaborate with the community on establishing goals for safe neighborhoods and provide business opportunities. All these improvements will provide a great place to live and raise a family, as we did, and our businesses to flourish. My top priorities are public safety, traffic, and the beautification of our wonderful city. We need to fully fund the police and the fire departments. We need to take care of them so they can take care of us. They are understaffed and underpaid. They are doing more with less. But if you have been listening, this has been a problem since 2016. Why has it taken so long to do the right thing? We need to value the people who actually protect us and other staff so we can protect the residents. I know this firsthand. My brother was a firefighter for 27 years. He passed away in 2019. He was a former Marine, and his daughter is now a U.S. Navy, who has received many accommodations. I think that was the wrong word, so I apologize. I have worked at the Ontario Montclair School District for over 21 years. I manage the payroll and benefits department for close to 4,000 employees now. I work with a team of 11 employees in my office. During my time at OMSD, I have held various positions of increasing levels of responsibility, including management while maintaining confidentiality. I have performed complex, diverse, and time-sensitive duties to support the district. I will do the same for the city of Montclair. I have an extensive customer service. I will improve the relationships between our internal and external stakeholders. I am a firm believer of building and maintaining relationships. I will bring my experience and knowledge to the City Council. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your time. Mr. Dutrey, you now have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Well, great. Thank you very much. First of all, I want to say I've really enjoyed being the mayor of Montclair these last 4 years, and I've met many fine Montclair residents and business people here. And I believe I provided strong leadership here on the dais, here in our Montclair community, and also in our region in my roles serving at St. Mary's County Transportation Authority, Army Trans, as well. You know, as a longtime Montclair resident and obviously a Montclair High School graduate, I'm running to continue as your mayor to further enhance the quality of life here in the city of Montclair, which I think many of our residents and our business community expect. You know, some of these include reducing Montclair homelessness. Obviously, this is a growing problem. Dealing with, I think, graffiti and trash and people parking along the streets are areas we have to focus on. Obviously, police and fire are important to us, and we have to make sure that not only do we increase those budgets to ensure that we remain competitive, but we also enhance the opportunity to recruit and keep our police officers and firefighters here in the city of Montclair to better provide public service and obviously to combat crime. I want to obviously allocate $45 million in bond funds to improve our streets and our parks. That includes Saratoga Park for our youth and our the Vernon Park for our softball league. You know, we have great services here at Montclair. I want to make sure we continue to have a good youth and senior service programs, including the after-school activities, the senior lunch program, our youth sports, the Montclair to College program. I want to make sure we provide even more dining, shopping, entertainment here, experiences here in the Montclair, including here at the Montclair Place, which I think some exciting things will be happening. Developing North Montclair as that's currently occurring. And of course, bringing the gold line to Montclair. And of course, we want to make sure we maintain a healthy city budget to support many of these important services that the residents expect. You know, Montclair is close to my family's heart. My parents have owned a business in Montclair since 1976. My wife, who's somewhere in the audience, who has served in the Army and is also a retired civil engineer, she coordinates a food pantry at our church, at Our Lady of Lourdes here in Montclair. And we have 2 children. Our son Christopher has been now in the Army for 10 years, and he's got 2 children, our grandchildren. And our daughter Janine is attending the University of San Francisco, majoring in biology. I attended Xavier College, California State University, San Bernardino. I received both a bachelor and master's degree, my master's in public administration. My working career mostly in local government. I worked as an urban planner focusing on real estate, economic development, affordable housing. So tonight, I'm looking forward to answering many of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your statements. Okay, we will now begin the first round of questioning, and we will begin with Ms. Martinez. What do you believe is the biggest issue facing the city of Montclair? Discuss your plan for tackling this issue. You have 2 minutes for your answer. Ms. Martinez?
Yes.
Sorry.
So I may have said, if you had asked me the same question a month ago, I may have mentioned accessibility and the Gold Line extension, but because of the issues that we've dealt with in the past few years due to the pandemic and the ever-changing nature of employment, I would say our top issue right now is probably retention and hiring with staff members, because we offer so many services to our residents, and the thing that makes our city wonderful is the fact that we can offer the youth center and the programs that are offered by the youth center, the senior center. We can provide food, transportation, and services to our residents. We have thankfully had access to government funding that has allowed us to work on developing parks, trails, accessibility, transit-oriented development. And right now, what I think is a very growing issue and something that we need to focus on is how can we make sure that we as a city have the staff that it's going to take to implement those programs and to continue not only to develop parks, but to have the people available to service those parks and to help us continue to grow as a city and not have promises that we can't fulfill in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mendez, what do you believe is the biggest issue facing the city of Montclair? And discuss your plan for tackling this issue. You have 2 minutes for your answer.
I think, Corysa hit the nail on the head. Retention of police, fire, public works, entry-level positions seem to be the biggest problem right now. I know the city is doing really well, and I know this council, or not this council, but the council here has done a great job by making sure that the city is receiving the amount of funds that it does. It has a great reserve. There's tons of funds coming in because of Measure L, and I just think that we need to start working on getting more competitive salaries and benefits for all these staff members. I know that it's not something that happens overnight, and I know people have mentioned that it's been a while and takes some time, but I know the city has the money to do these things, and I just hope that we can get that done. I feel like the leadership and mentoring could use some help also. A little bit more community involvement from police and fire. I think being involved with the residents would be beneficial. Maybe, just by doing these things would help with retention and keeping some of these police officers and firemen and public works maintenance workers here longer, and they're not just out looking for other jobs once they get their training and experience. So hopefully I can work on that, and if I'm voted in on November 8th, so get out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rue, what do you believe is the biggest issue facing the city of Montclair? And discuss your plan for tackling this issue. You have 2 minutes for your answer.
Thank you. As someone who's been on this council through good budgets and bad budgets, through recessions and good times, I think the biggest issue facing us is to make sure we have a steady, good, and constant revenue stream. We can't retain employees if we don't have the money to pay them. We can't fix roads if we don't have the money for them. We're facing increased competition from neighboring cities for what becomes increasingly scarce sales tax and property tax money. We need to find ways to diversify. That's why I'm so big on expanding Montclair Place, providing more revenue options, and providing opportunities in areas outside of just Montclair Place. We need a revenue stream. We need to seek government grants where we can, because California, and that includes Montclair, we're still a net donor state. For every dollar we send to Washington, we get back only 83 cents. We need to make sure we as a city try to keep all of our money here. And employment is wonderful, but if you can't pay somebody, we also have employment as a 20 or 30-year commitment when you throw in pensions. We need the revenue. That's why I'm pro Gold Line. That's why I've been pro so many of the new business opportunities in this city. We need to move forward. We need to guard our revenue. We need to grow our revenue. We need to look at not just the good times. We need to put aside for the difficult times. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Orozco, what do you believe is the biggest issue facing the city of Montclair? Discuss your plan for tackling this issue.
In 2020, when I ran, my biggest issue that I felt was the budget. I don't feel that way anymore. I think it's public safety, affordable housing, the homeless population, and the infrastructure. Like I said in my opening statement, I'm a firm believer of building and maintaining relationships. I think if we have relationships with staff, meaning we value them, they will stay. I don't know where all the workers have gone. It's happening in school districts, it's happening in cities, it's happening everywhere. and I'm not sure what it is, but I think that we give them competitive pay and benefits, they will stay, because employees don't apply for a position just to say, I'm going to stay here for a month and I'm done. They stay, and as long as we value them and we see that they're doing well, we can maintain them. And I think we need to value employees, is basically my answer. And public safety, making sure that our students that are walking to school are safe and that they feel comfortable. In the previous, I don't want to seem negative, and I really love this city. My husband and I went to several cities, and I fell in love with Montclair. It's homey. It's small. It's not, we can grow on that and make it better. And I think that helping our residents by helping our employees will help.
Thank you. Mr. Dutrey? Oh,
Yeah, one of the issues that I'm concerned about is retention of employees, but I don't think just throwing money at it is going to solve the problem, because one issue is you throw money at it, then you're going to run out of money, and then we're going to have to file for bankruptcy. So, but that is an issue that I think about. Homelessness is a growing issue, and I say homelessness is not just those who lose their homes, but folks who are on the street because of drug addiction, because of mental illness. That is a growing problem, and I think we're doing a good job here in Montclair, but it is a growing problem, and I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about Sacramento because, as you know, our friends in Sacramento love to throw laws at us. And what's happened in Sacramento is, one, they've reduced a lot of the crimes, accountability. We don't put people in jail like we used to anymore. So that makes our police officers' job much more difficult to try to make sure that people are accountable. We have Sacramento's now come down laws about reducing our local authority when it comes to land use. And so there's more and more legislation will be coming down. And frankly, the last issue that I think about now is recession and, of course, inflation, and what the impact of that will be in the city in the future if we have a recession and, of course, trying to deal with inflation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this question is for Ms. Orozco. You have 2 minutes. In your candidate statement, you mentioned ensuring new funding sources to support youth and senior programs. Please give more details of potential new funding sources for these programs.
Can you please repeat the question?
Sure, no problem. I'm sorry, I caught you off guard there. In your candidate statement, you mentioned ensuring new funding sources to support youth and senior programs. Can you give an example of potential new funding sources for those programs?
I don't think I said that in my opening statement, but I will answer the question.
It was in your candidate statement. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
not the opening tonight.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, these are previous questions.
So funding, we have money from Measure L. We can continue to fund our seniors and the other programs that we have within the city. We have those fundings. The budget is balanced. We can use that money from Measure L to help continue our programs. And I mean, there's really, we have to start, we have to start making choices that will help the citizens, that will help everybody in Montclair, not just a certain group.
Thank you. Okay, this round of questions starts with Mr. Mendez. If a majority of voters decide cannabis sales should be legal in Montclair through Measure II and also approve Measure R, allowing the City Council to enact a tax up to 7% on commercial cannabis sales, would you support moving forward with the cannabis ordinance to regulate cannabis businesses in Montclair? Discuss why or why not.
Yes, if the people approve these two measures this November, yes, I would approve and go forward with that. I believe in a few council meetings ago, they talked about at the beginning doing 0% additional tax. Obviously, there'll still be the 9% tax rate, but up to 7%. I think it would only be beneficial to the city, since you could go right next door and buy it in Pomona and bring it over here. Our tax rate will be a little bit lower than Pomona's, so you'll probably get more people purchasing it over on this side, maybe from Pomona, because LA County is a little bit more expensive. I know that, these types of revenues are great. I know we put on there on the ballot that it's there for public safety, to help fund more public safety, but I believe we have enough money. I mean, I've been going through some of the revenues, and right now we're at 9% in the city of Montclair, and Measure L brought in 8.1, brings in about 8.1 million a year. We have total tax that we receive out of the 9% is about 2.75%. So you could do the math and figure out if 1% is 8.1 million, so you know what 2.75 is. We also have a utility users tax that brings in right now 3.89%, based on all of your utilities that you use, which it could go up. I believe it's 4.5%. So there's a lot of money there. That's about 1.8 million annually. If Measure R comes in, potentially 7% additional cannabis, that's going to be approximately 3.5 million additional funds that'll go to the city, which if we can't provide, a fair competitive wage for our police officers, firefighters, public works people, other city staff, I'm not just saying just police and fire, I think everything should be looked at. And I understand we have to save for a rainy day, but that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Rue, if a majority of the voters decide cannabis sales should be legal in Montclair through Measure II and also approve Measure R, allowing the city council to enact up to 7% on commercial cannabis sales, would you support moving forward with the cannabis ordinance to regulate cannabis businesses in Montclair? Discuss why or why not.
If it is approved by the voters, and this is what they want, I would want to make sure that we have an ordinance in place that protects this community from criminal activity. We hear all day long about public safety, but I want an ordinance in place that protects the workers so they're not subject to crime. I want to make sure we have an ordinance in place that protects the drivers. In many communities, the drivers are carrying cash. These drivers are subject to crime. We need an ordinance that will protect them. We don't need a driver being shot on the street in front of your house. If you care about public safety, you're going to care about making sure an ordinance protects the community, protects the workers. I want an ordinance in place similar to some neighboring communities that actually has a percentage of that revenue going to programs in that city to help youth, seniors, and others. Some of that money needs to go to that. We need an ordinance that will do the right, will do the right thing as neighboring communities have done, looking to make sure that these businesses are well run, well regulated, and well policed. We can't have a situation where for every one that is legal, we have a bunch of illegal ones that we're always shutting down. We need to regulate it and make sure it's done the right way. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Mr. Orozco, if a majority of the voters decide to approve II and also Measure R, allowing the city council to enact 7%, would you support moving forward with a cannabis ordinance?
We can't have Measure R without Measure II. And it is for the people to decide, the people of Montclair. And if they do, I will support it. And it's not whether it should be here, it's already here. Like Mr. Rue said, that it's coming in. We should be able to have the tax, it should be taxed, and it should be, the tax should go to the different programs, human service programs. And we should have regulation, absolutely, What I said before a few years ago is we should be proactive instead of reactive and make those decisions so that when it is in here and the voters decide that they're on Montclair's terms, on the city's terms, and not anything that they could just come in and do whatever they want. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dutrey, if a majority of voters decide cannabis sales should be legal in Montclair through Measure II and also Measure R, allowing you to enact a tax up to 7% on commercial cannabis sales, would you support moving forward with the cannabis ordinances to regulate cannabis businesses in Montclair?
Well, if you asked me 8 years ago, I wasn't that excited about cannabis. I never used the stuff, but never excited, and I probably would have voted no back then. But the world has changed, and so the reason why the voters will decide this November is because this city council decided it was time to move forward, and I was a yes vote on that, along with three of my other colleagues, or actually 5 colleagues on the other measure. So if it does pass, and if the voters of the city gave me an opportunity to serve mayor, then we, as a city council in 2023, will be very busy to trying to put together an ordinance. Has to be a good ordinance where it protects Montclair residents, it protects employees. A good ordinance ensure that there's no negative impacts to surrounding property owners and businesses. Determine what the locations of those cannabis establishments will be located at. Ensure we have economic development opportunities that come from it. Ensure we have good users, the providers that come in here do a good job. Obviously, generate more income for the city, maybe $3.5 million to the general fund. But again, I said the 5 people that will be sitting up here in 2023 will have a big job if indeed the voters do pass the 2 measures. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez, if a majority of voters decide cannabis sales should be legal in Montclair through Measure II and Measure R, would you support enacting a tax up to 7% or creating a cannabis ordinance for the businesses in Montclair?
Yeah, so it's projected that there would be about $3.5 million in local revenue if the measure is passed and if we did tax cannabis businesses. And the benefit to doing that is not only are we going to develop rules and regulations for storefront cannabis businesses, which is what I think most people think of when you think of cannabis businesses, but also non-storefront delivery businesses, which are very prevalent in our city already. So to Mayor Pro Tem Rue's comment about protecting the drivers, this is certainly something that would do that, where we already have drivers here from other cities, and it would. This is an issue that a lot of our residents very enthusiastically support, but it's also an issue that a lot of our residents very enthusiastically dissent. And so this has been a long time coming. It's a huge decision. It's been something that our city manager and staff has spent a lot of time working on. There's, an existing 300-page document detailing what is going to happen with the funding and how this is going to work versus neighboring 10-page documents. So our city really has tried its best to make sure that if this is something that's implemented, it's done right. It's going to protect our residents, it's going to protect the businesses, and it will be policed. So I would agree with the residents, whatever they vote on, if this is something that they want, I wholeheartedly would agree with it.
Thank you. Mr. Dutrey, this question is for you. Recently, it appears there's been increased tension among city council members at council meetings. As mayor, how do you propose to lead the group in collaborating and working together as a council moving forward, if you keep the same incumbents or if you have new candidates?
Well, I'm not sure what the tension is. We, as council members, we have a right to argue, and sometimes we get a little excited. But my job as the mayor is to build consensus among all the council members to make sure, one, we all have the right vision of where we want to go in the city. Two is get policy and get business enacted up here in the dais, and that's important. When you have new colleagues on the city council, I try with one candidate, one new colleague, meet with them and hear what their issues are, and they hear my issues are too. Try to introduce them to the city, show them all the facilities, the employees, the issues the city's facing, the system, how to be a much better council member as they progress. So I think sometimes when there's some tension up here, perhaps when there's some excitement coming up here, I try to remind everybody that we're really here for the Montclair residents and not for our egos. I know it's politicians' egos. It's a high priority for us. But at the end of the day, we're here about conducting the business of the people of Montclair, and I try to remind my colleagues of what's the most important thing. So again, I think I've been very good at this as the mayor of the city. We've had some challenges up here. Is to try to get some consensus on something. Yeah, it doesn't mean all five agree with us, but there's 3 votes, and we get 3 votes, then we can move on. But my goal is to see if I can get all 5. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, this round begins with you, Mr. Rue. Would you support council districts in the city? Why or why not? Currently, none of the elected officials live in the North Montclair area, the fastest growing part of the city, and our needs are not being addressed.
And there it's on. In looking at council districts, we're a city of 4.8 square miles. I feel we're very small. I feel we can do things right now without council districts. If any resident in this community feels their needs are not being met, they can talk to each one of us. At 4.8 square miles, I can reach out to any member in this community anytime I want. I believe the other problem that comes with small cities and districts, if one person, say, controls the Montclair, has the Montclair Plaza in their district or Montclair Place, they wind up controlling the city. I think you need to build consensus. When you see what's happened in other cities that have had districts, it becomes what's good for my district, not what's good for the city. I've always believed in what's good for the city. I live in what used to be the north end of the city, north of Palo Verde Street. And I've lived in that basic area my entire life. And I can tell you, anytime we needed something, my mother went to the council or called them up. It's not that hard. I'm worried and concerned that if you split the city up, we no longer have unity, we have disunity. And that's just what we don't need at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Orozco, would you support council districts in the city? Why or why not?
I would not support it at this time. We're not big enough, as Pro Tem Mr. Roos said. We're not big enough, and we need to be united. I've seen what has changed with other cities and other districts, that they start cutting it up into little parts. And North Montclair, you are being developed. I think that the South Montclair isn't being developed enough like North Montclair. We have a lot of great things happening in North. And I do believe that if the residents feel that they're not being listened to, they need to come to the council meetings. They need to address their issues and their concerns. And we need to listen, or the council needs to listen, the city needs to listen. And I don't support chopping up the city. I don't think it would benefit the community at all.
Thank you. Mr. Dutrey, would you support council districts in the city?
Oh, no. I live in South Montclair, and I think I'm the first council member that's ever lived in South Montclair being this diocese. Maybe the second one. I may be wrong on that one. But as a council member and now as a mayor, I represent the entire city. And, I'm driving around this whole city, north, south, east, west, central, and I see what's going on. I talk to residents from different parts of the cities, and that's what all 5 of us should be doing. Remember this one thing, and when you have districts, right now, at large, 1 voter, 5 of us represents just 1 voter. If you go to council districts, it changes. One voter, but only two of us, the mayor and one of the council members is your representative. The rest three are not accountable. Bill brought up a good point. When you go to council districts, and I've seen this happen in other cities, and I know Juliet brought this up as well, is that the representative, they just focus on their district. They're not thinking about the entire jurisdiction of that government agency. We're a small city too, and if we were a very large city, then yeah, it probably makes more sense to have districts because of the population size and the geographic size. But we have 4 square miles. We have 40,000 residents. If we had districts, it would be, what, 10,000 residents per district. So it's a bad idea, but there is some law out there that we could be challenged one day. You never know. And if that happens, then we'll probably have to go to the districts.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez, would you support council districts in the city? Why or why not?
I definitely respect our residents' opinion as far as needing districts, because we do have 2 semi-competing interests in our city, which is we have the culture, the history that we want to preserve. We also want development. We also want to bring in big businesses, but we want local businesses as well. And North Montclair is getting a lot of the big development, the transit, the big businesses. However, because of the way our city is structured, I believe it would lead to inequitable results, because I do think that certain areas of our city that create more revenue may feel that there is more of a responsibility and allowance to continue pulling in that revenue and developing in that area. And I don't want to see that any one area of our city goes without being developed and fixed. And I do want to see more money put into especially the south side of Montclair. We have done an amazing amount of development in the south side of Montclair. The things that I'm really hopeful for in the future is more of the culture, art walks, things that can bring our residents together, like we do here at Alma Hoffman Park, maybe something more in the south side. But that's something that we as city council members need to come together and focus on and talk about more, not necessarily divide and fight for revenue and allocation.
Thank you. Mr. Mendez, would you support council districts in the city? Why or why not?
If the residents wanted districts and it was a pretty big majority, I would probably support it because it's what the residents would want. Do we need it? I don't think we need it. I know I was the public works superintendent for Montclair for 29 years. Well, not all those years, but for over 10 years. And I know our 5.5 square mile city, really, if you go around anywhere in the city, you'll find that most of the homes in this city were built in the same era. So you have a lot of that, the same type of residential area, same types of businesses. Yes, on the south end, they've started putting a lot of larger developments, tilt-ups. On the north end, they're putting more multi-housing, TODs, transit-oriented districts. I think we do have a rep on the north end, what we're not thinking about, and that's Bruce Culp, who's in the audience. And he's their north representative. But I just feel like if that's what they wanted, then 100%, you know, I'd go with districts. But I do believe being 5.5 square miles, I don't think we need that because I think we get enough representation just from, you know, the people that are here right now and the council that are already sitting on the dais. So that was my answer.
Great, thank you. Okay, Ms. Martinez, this question is for you. You spoke strongly on being a voice of the younger generation on the city council. Please explain the need and the benefits of that for Montclair.
Well, I think that I'm a good example here. So I have been fortunate enough to be involved, and if it weren't for my family members being involved, I might not have ever realized how important civic mindedness is and volunteerism is. And one thing that is critical to getting our youth involved in the city is reaching out in a way that they understand, going to their high school, talking to them on social media. I've actively spoken with our city manager and staff about social media involvement and inclusivity. Our median age here in the city is 33 years old. I'm 32 years old. So I am approachable and a voice for that age group in our city. I'm the only representation for that age group in our city by decades. And it's not the only it's not the only, representation we have in the city. We have people from all different age groups, but it is important to see someone on the dais that looks like you, that might think like you, that might have a similar background and story as you. And because I just did it so recently, I feel like I can connect with high schoolers, college students. I can start to help implement programs where the high schoolers can fill out their FAFSA application for community college. I can be involved with the Montclair to College program as I've been, and I think those issues are very important.
Thank you. Okay, this round of questioning starts with Ms. Orozco. City unions ensure contract negotiations take place around elections. They also contribute to candidate campaigns that may promise support for favorable contracts. How will you ensure that you vote for a contract that is fair to employees but also doesn't put the city and taxpayers in financial jeopardy?
Well, there should be a system put in place, and I know the school district does it. I'm not sure if the city also implements. There's a bid. You have to bid for the job. And I think it's important that we allow all companies to come and bid, and whoever is either the lowest or the most, that makes most sense for the city, then they should be awarded the contract. It shouldn't be that my father owns a company or nepotism, that it's all within the family. That's good for some things, but they should be a bid-in process that it would, benefit the employees and the residents and the community in the right way, and not just have it handed to anybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me get the question. Mr. Dutrey, city unions ensure contract negotiations take place around elections. They also contribute to candidate campaigns that may promise support for favorable contracts. How will you ensure that you vote for a contract that is fair to the employees but also doesn't put the city and taxpayers in financial jeopardy?
I've been endorsed by our Public Employees Police Association, Fire Association, many years, many times in the past, received campaign contributions from them. I think, first of all, there's an ethic issue and there's a legal issue with anybody, including if you receive a campaign contribution from a developer. You cannot mix policy and contributions because that's bribery. You have to be careful about that. So as council members up here, we have to look at what's the best interest of the residents of the community, not the best interest of special interest groups, and that we have to look at when we negotiate labor union contracts. Obviously, we want to maximize the benefits of salaries and maximize salaries to employees as much as we can. That is reasonable, that's economics, and of course, that's within a budget. And I think my 5 colleagues up here very much will like to see that, as we like to give more money to our employees in the city, However, we have to make sure that we don't bust the budget, and we also have funds to do other things for the city of Montclair. But overall, you know, the campaign contributions received, again, is not a favoritism to turn around and do something loyal to a special interest group. That's wrong. We have to represent our residents at the end of the day.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez, city unions ensure contract negotiations take place around elections. They also contribute to candidate campaigns that may promise support for favorable contracts. How will you ensure you vote for a contract that is fair to employees but also doesn't put the city and taxpayers in financial jeopardy?
Campaign contributions have no effect on how I vote up here on the dais. In fact, I was the only vocal candidate asking for contribution limits. I will always vote based on what is best for the city, what I feel like is best for the city, based on the bidding process. I highly respect the opinion and the research of our city manager and the staff that does the reports. They're very thoroughly investigated. They usually answer all of my questions before the council meetings. And ultimately, what we look for is a bid that we can afford. The lowest bid is in the best interest of our residents, so long as they are providing an appropriate service and our residents are happy.
Okay, thank you. My card here. Oops. Okay. Mr. Mendez, city unions ensure contract negotiations take place around elections. They also contribute to candidate campaigns that may promise support for favorable contracts. How will you ensure you vote for a contract that is fair to the employees but also doesn't put the city and taxpayers in financial jeopardy?
Well, I'm sure the only two unions that you're talking about are Montclair Police Officers Association and the Montclair Firefighters Association. There used to be a general employee association, but that's been dismantled, and it's no longer available to the general employees. As far as anything, I would only do what's best for the community. I have received support from both fire and police, and I made it clear to both of them that just because they're supporting me did not mean that I would be, you know, just a yes man, a rubber stamp, voting for whatever they wanted. I wouldn't do that. So I would have the community, the city employees, the residents, everybody, you know, would be in my thought process, whatever I decided. As far as funding, that's what the purpose of Measure L was for, to bring in monies for that. $8.1 million. Measure R, if that gets approved, $3.5 million. The utility tax that we did years and years ago, $1.8 million, and it could go higher, but they choose to keep it at a certain number. That's a total of $13.4 million that comes in, that was all put in every time they put a measure on the ballot. It's to provide for public safety. Well, there's your money. So don't do that. Don't keep saying that's what it's for when it's not for that. So make sure that whatever you say is for, make sure you put it for that. And I believe in making sure that all staff members are paid what they should. And obviously, I'm not going to put the city into bankrupt. That's not my decision here. I would not do that also. So that's my answer.
Thank you. Again. Okay, here we go. Mr. Rue, city unions ensure contract negotiations take place around elections. They also contribute to candidate campaigns that may promise support for favorable contracts. How will you ensure you vote for a contract that is fair to the employees but also doesn't put the city and taxpayers in financial jeopardy?
I too have in the past been endorsed or supported by some of the employee unions. I have had a tremendous amount of experience on this council creating a budget. That budget determines what we will pay employees, all employees. The first job of a council member is a fiduciary one. You can look that up. We have to make sure that we keep our budget safe and as flush as we can. We can't turn around and just say, oh, well, because somebody gave me money, I'm in favor of them. We have to do what's good for everyone. We have to look at a budget, not just its impact on 2, 4, 5, 6 years out. Any budget that involves employment is a 20 to 30-year commitment. Think about that, because there are obligations we have in there for pensions that have to be paid. And we're making a commitment then for a council that may be 20 years out on what's going to happen. Every budget needs to be based on what's best for the city and its residents today, tomorrow, and in the future. And that's how you determine what you pay your employees and what the, whether they've supported you or not. There were times I haven't been supported. I still do the best budget I can. As far as Measure L, it's not magic money, and it is not a specific tax. There's a misconception out there. It is a general tax to be used for a variety of things. If we were to turn around and have made it a specific tax, it would have taken a 2/3 majority. So we need to look at all of that and not just assume we'll always have that money. We may not have it. We're going into recessionary times. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Mendez, this question is for you. Part of your responsibilities as a public works superintendent included overseeing city parks. As you are aware, the city is in the process of developing the Montclair Parks and Recreation Master Plan. What do you think can be done to improve the city parks?
First off, I know there's different types of funding that come in from federal government, from the state, and I know we have staff here that are really good at finding these types of funds. I'm not going to mention their names, but I know they're very good at what they do, and I know Marcia Richter is responsible for a lot of that. But I believe that our equipment needs to be, some of it needs to be updated. When I was the superintendent, I always had a staff member on the one of my staff members. He was certified by California Park and Rec as a certified inspector, and that's required, that you're supposed to have all of your equipment inspected minimum once a week. I believe they should still have one, so that hopefully that's being inspected, so that way all the equipment is safe. As far as some of the other things, there are other parks that should be developed. I know they're doing one down at the Reeder Ranch, which they have funding for that, which is wonderful. It'd be nice to get something on the south end down there. Maybe, I love the skate park here. I ride the skate park. I love that they allow bicycles and rollerblades and skates, whatever, any wheeled activity. I also appreciate, everything that is in this city. I believe we have a lot of parks for the size of our city. We have a lot of great parks. There are some hidden gems in this city. On the north end, you have MacArthur Park. You have a little one called Sunrise. And these parks don't get as much use as I wish they would. So what needs to go in these areas to develop, to make them more attractive? Maybe a bicycle pump track, which are very popular. Maybe pickleball. I know we tried that at Sunset. Didn't work out too well, I don't think. But I know Marcia used to get a lot of people asking for that. And that's really about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this round of questioning starts with Ms. Orozco. The notion of affordable housing focus on limited number of dwellings based on a strict criteria for people to gain housing. Both with new luxury apartments being built in the city, how do you plan to address the overall rising cost of rent? How can we make housing more affordable, or at bare minimum, prevent rent increases that would hurt even those who consider economically stable?
I hate to do this to you, but can you please repeat the question?
Yes, I will.
It
do
was
that.
a
I will
very
do my
long
best.
question. Okay.
Okay. The notion of affordable housing focuses on limited number of dwellings based on a strict criteria for people to gain that housing. Both with new luxury apartments being built in the city, how do you plan to address the overall rising cost of rent in the city? how can you make housing more affordable or at bare minimum prevent rent increases that would hurt even those we consider economically stable?
Well, we need to have renters, I don't remember what the name is, that the rent doesn't increase every single year. And so we need to have an ordinance or something to that effect that would help with the rising of costs. It seems that, you know, we are in good, everybody's doing well, well, most are doing well, and then all of a sudden everything comes, you know, goes up, which is, still don't understand that. But I think if we have some sort of rule or ordinance or law that, you know, you can't raise the rent here in Montclair as much as they do in Los Angeles. So I think that if we have an ordinance, I really don't have a complete answer. I would have to get to know everything, see what everything is. How can we help the residents? Ask the residents what would work for them. We're all working class people, and, you know, we just need to think about that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Dutrey, the notion of affordable housing focus on limited number of dwellings based on strict criteria for people to gain housing. With the new luxury apartments being built in the city, how do you plan to address the overall rising cost of rent?
Well, obviously, there's two factors that are causing the rise in rent right now. One, we have a housing shortage throughout California and in the nation. And of course, I think the second thing is the pandemic. Because during the pandemic, you recall, we had a deep recession and rents were not going up. And so what's happening now is many landlords are adjusting their rents to offset the loss from the days of the pandemic. So hopefully next year, we'll see a slowdown in rent increases. Hopefully inflation next year goes much lower. So I think it's a market condition issue. As far as housing shortages, I know this city, we have done a tremendous amount of planning in North Montclair, bringing in high density, which is one way to help offset the shortage, and also housing costs is increased density, and through that factor is you get a chance to provide more housing for more people. If we didn't build the North Montclair, all that housing up there, that's probably at least 1,000 units less of housing that the folks can have. So as a community, we are doing a lot, and I want to say in Montclair, we probably own about 80 units of housing, rental housing, single-family housing, where they are affordable. They meet the low and moderate income requirements for the state of California. They're from the old RDA days. And we also, our mobile home parks, ownership, but we have about 200 units, 300 units mobile home parks that are also on some form of rent restriction when it comes to space rent and affordability. So we've done a lot in this community, but obviously the current market conditions have created new challenges, especially those who are renting, and of course those who are buying. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez, the notion of affordable housing focus on limited number of dwellings based on strict criteria for people to gain that housing. But with the new luxury apartments being built in the city, how do you plan to address the overall rising cost of rent?
So there's a few ways that needs to be addressed. The city currently provides affordable housing, and that's always something that we can consider doing more of. And with every development of high-density housing, there's going to be more affordable housing units within those high-density structures. We have voted on, and the city has worked extensively with ADUs, JADUs, making ways for existing properties to provide access to housing for other residents. And the big thing I think that we can pay more attention to in the future that is being considered and worked on by the city currently is we need our businesses to hire local. And we need our businesses and our city to continue paying affordable wages so that our residents can afford to live here. The city already focuses on vehicle miles traveled. It's done studies on vehicle miles traveled, and there's a substantial amount of Montclair residents that work for the city. So I think that the city is doing a fantastic job in that regard. The Chamber of Commerce is so connected with the incoming businesses. We just need to continue working with them to make sure that they are hiring local. And that way the people that live here can afford to live here. And we don't have more residents coming from out of town just to work here.
Thank you. Mr. Mendez, the notion of affordable housing focus on limited number of dwellings based on strict criteria for people to gain housing. Both with new luxury apartments being built in the city, how do you plan to address the overall rising cost of rent?
Well, I don't, as mentioned by somebody else, it's hard to control, certain costs unless, I guess, the city really implemented something, and I don't even know if that's possible to try to implement some type of a rent control to property owners that don't, need to do that. I know that the city, as John was mentioning, has multiple units. I know they have some apartments down on Canoga. They own some houses, and I guess it's approximately about 80 plus units that they own, which they're able to control those rents, and I'm pretty sure that the city does give good rent prices on those, which is nice. The state of California now allows all the ADUs to be built in people's garages, which I know a lot of people aren't big fans of that. Because then it brings in more people on the street and no parking, and parking is always an issue. As far as multi-dwelling units, I just, with the cost of development, that they have to pay these high prices for prevailing wages, to get them to where they can do affordable housing, I just don't see how that's gonna happen. They raise minimum wage, to work at McDonald's to $17, $18 an hour. You get 4 people making that, yeah, they could probably afford something, but like anything else, every other cost is gonna go up. The more you raise, people's hourly wages, you're gonna have, more expensive, outcomes on rent and other utilities and food and gas and everything else. I don't know that answer. I wish I did. That's the million-dollar question, I think. But good luck with it.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Rue. The notion of affordable housing focus on a limited number of dwellings based on strict criteria. With the luxury apartments being built in the city, how do you plan to address the overall rising cost of rent?
We're talking about something that the state legislature handled 2 years ago, and it was signed by the governor. It is a rent stabilization ordinance that's applicable to every jurisdiction in the state. It specifically lays out when you can raise rent and when you can't raise rent. It also has a CPI in it based on inflation. One has to look that not every rental unit in town is owned by a major corporation which may have deep pockets. Many rentals in town are owned by individuals. It's a form of retirement income because not everybody has the defined benefit pension plan that many cities do. With those landlords come expenses that they have to deal with. If there is the need for a new air conditioner, they have to put it in. They may not have that much money in reserves. As it is with anything else, that cost has to be passed along to someone, whether it's the tenant or some unknown entity. You also have to look at how to develop rentals. There are organizations that are nonprofit. National Core, which is built here in Montclair, Telecu, Jamboree, and many others that are nonprofit developers that actually build affordable units to rent. We also at some point need to look at affordable ownership housing, but that's not what the question was. we have an opportunity and an obligation to our working class families to make sure they can live here. So we need to follow the state law, make sure that if there's a problem, somebody reports it to the appropriate agency. But we also need to make sure that we work with good developers that can help build affordable housing and affordable rentals. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't know where I'm going here. Okay, so, Bill, this question's for you. I know it's kind of you just went, but this is my last one here. In your candidate statement, you say that you've been an effective leader in the community. You've been on the city council for over 20 years. What specific efforts have you led during that time to improve Montclair? And what do you see that you can improve it going forward?
Well, I think when I look back over 20 years, there are many efforts that I've led. Among them would be looking at the Gold Line and the effort we have to bring that here to diversify our transportation opportunities right here in the city of Montclair. We need new ways to get people to work. Our freeways are crowded. Drive them any morning. It's also a responsibility to me for the people who can't drive, don't have cars. They need mass transit. I've led an effort on that. I've been very much behind our effort in the Montclair to College. It used to be, for those of you who go back far enough, it used to be our online to college. That changed to Montclair to College because we're now including only high school students who aren't moving that much, to get them to college, to move them forward, to build a better career and a better life. I've also been very, very instrumental in this city in looking at some of our housing areas, what we can do, bringing in groups such as National Core, which only a few years ago built not just a new senior community, they built one for our families who may have some type of a disability with them, and including housing for them so that we're an all-inclusive community. I've also led efforts on many of our local events. I was the one who helped, along with the original CAC, to bring in our Memorial Day program, which is very successful, where we honor our veterans. We've been very instrumental in working to create new opportunities, such as our we used to call a country fair, Jamboree, events in the park. Those type of community efforts I've been behind because I truly believe in them, and as a lifetime resident of this city, I've seen what happened when we didn't have them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this next question is going to be kind of a simple answer. We're going to start with Mr. Dutrey, and it relates to a council member being censured on recently. That council member had been censured. If that council member is recalled, will you choose to appoint a replacement or hold a special election? Mr. Dutrey.
Well, the past two openings, we've done appointments, and so I think if we had an opening, I think my preference will be more towards a special election, but I'm still open to the idea of appointment as well.
Okay, Ms. Martinez, appointment or special election?
The benefit of an appointment is it would save the money, the city, tens of thousands of dollars. However, that would be an issue that I feel would be best decided by the residents. So I think it would be prudent to have a council meeting to allow residents to come and voice their opinions on whether they would want a special election or an appointment. I think that the council and the mayor are fine, knowledgeable enough to pick someone out of a group of prospective candidates after an interview and an application process. However, I understand from the perspective of our residents, maybe they don't want someone sitting on the council that we know. Maybe they want someone entirely different. And I completely respect that too. So it really would be up to our residents.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mendez, appointment or special election? If that,
Could you
if
give me
that,
Could you give me the whole question again?
yeah, I'm sorry. Recently, a council member has been censured. If that council member is recalled, would you support either appointment for that replacement or a special election for that replacement?
If that council member was recalled, and I was on the dais at that time, I would probably say a special election, only because I believe that person would still have enough time, or if it's not, maybe we do a special election. I mean, I don't know the details of everything, so I don't want to just, I understand the two, appointing somebody or doing a special election. I understand special elections, cost money, and, we have the money there to do it, but do we want to waste it on that, or do we just appoint somebody? So I think there's a lot of information I would need before I could give you an educated, answer. So I really, without knowing all the detail of everything, I wouldn't want to really answer that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rue, point of replacement or a special election?
I would go with the special election. I've always favored special elections in my time on this dais. I look at several neighboring cities, and where they recently have had a vacancy, they did it by special election, specifically the city of Rancho Cucamonga, with the passing of Councilmember Sam Spagnuolo, chose to go to an election. And I believe that's fair. It gives the residents a voice in what's going on. It gives them a chance to choose a replacement for that seat. So yes, a special election.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Orozco, appointment or special election?
I'm split in the middle. Special election, I would not want to cause the city to waste money or to have money spent. Appointed, they appointed Denise Johnson. You couldn't go wrong there. So I'm kind of split in the middle. I would say that the residents would decide, and whatever they decide, I would actually support.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it is now time for closing statements from each of the candidates. And this time we will begin with Mr. Dutrey, and we will work our way back towards Ms. Martinez. So, Mr. Dutrey.
Well, great. First of all, I just want to say thank you very much to the Community Activities Commission. I know all of you guys work well. Diane Wells, Darlene Ferraro, Richard Escalante, Arturo Padilla, Lori Milheiser, Rosa Miguel, and Alex Hernandez. I also want to say thank you to Tim for moderating this event. It seemed like it was a little kind of a challenging event today, but no, it went well today. Second of all, I just want to say say thank you to my family for giving me the opportunity to run for another term on the city council, obviously in this case for mayor of Montclair. Third of all, I just want to recognize all of you on my left. I've known many of you for many years. Corysa, yes, you are the next generation. That was a good question earlier. Xavier, like me, grew up in Montclair High School graduate. I know your heart's in Montclair. Bill, obviously another person, a longtime Montclair resident. You and I have had our differences in the past, but the last 4 years we've done much better. And Juliet, you're the newest person that I know here, but you and I we've met in the past, and then last time we had an appointment, you were one of my 3 or 4 candidates to pick from. So good luck to all of you. As your current mayor, and if I'm given the opportunity to serve another 4 years, I'm going to support policies that keeps Montclair safe, that beautifies our neighborhoods, that promotes our youth and seniors, improves our streets and parks, enhances our shopping, dining, and entertainment experiences, and that implements a healthy budget and a city that's professionally run. So I'm going to say this: Montclair is definitely a great city, a city that we all love, we all cherish, we want to be here, a city that we want to make sure that we have quality of life for our residents, for our businesses, and I'm going to determine to continue on that. And I've enjoyed being the leader of this community the last 4 years in the many endeavors, in leading the city council here, trying to build a consensus. And as a result of that, I will be honored to continue as your Montclair mayor for 4 more years. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Orozco, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for being here and taking the time this evening to support us. Thank you for this opportunity to provide you with my story. I'm willing to listen to residents, not just during election time. I'm a hard worker, a team player, a friend, and a supporter. I'm not a person who will make promises. I will do. I will research to see what is best for the residents of Montclair. I will listen to your concerns. I will work on each issue one at a time. I will seek to understand. I will ensure your voice is heard. I will represent all in our community. I will do my job effectively and with integrity and transparency. I will treat all with dignity, respect, and purpose. My husband and I have raised 4 boys while working full-time and going to school full-time. Our boys attended the schools at OMSD and Chaffey Joint Union High School District. I attended Chaffey College, received my bachelor's at University of Phoenix and my master's at University of Redlands. And I am currently in the final stages of earning my doctorate in organizational leadership. I work, I pay bills, and I help my sisters care for our 88-year-old mamacita. I am just like you. I want a better Montclair. I want public safety to be a priority. I want to ensure our police and fire department are valued and paid a competitive salary so that they stay in Montclair to protect the elderly, to protect the young, and to protect people my age, and not go to surrounding cities. We should not have to train our service members and see them succeed in another city. When you value your staff, you are loyal, and when your employees are loyal, they will perform without worrying if they need to work double shifts because they are understaffed. I know this firsthand from my brother Carlos, who is a former Marine and was a firefighter captain. I have a family in the Sheriff's Department, and my sister worked for LAPD for 43 years. Public service is important. Residents are important. I want to work to better our traffic situation, and on Central and Monte Vista, learn extremely frustrating for our residents, and want to beautify the city of Montclair. I'm proud to be endorsed by many residents, business owners, community leaders, and teachers. I'm especially proud to be endorsed by the Montclair Police Department and Fire Department. Your vote and support will give me the honor to serve on the City Council. Vote Juliet Orozco on November 8th.
Thank you. Mr. Rue, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody who is attending this both virtually and online, and thank you to the CAC for putting this on this evening. I am a lifetime resident of this community, a product of this community and by this community. My mother reared 5 children alone. I know what it's like to struggle, dream, and achieve success. I attended Ontario Montclair schools, and I am the first in my family to have ever graduated from high school. And it was right here at Montclair High School. I am the first in my family to go to college and to graduate from college. To me, this is proof that a strong family environment, good values, and lots of hard work will still pay off. I chose to enter public service as I was taught from an early age that your public service is the rent you pay for the space you take up on earth, the way to give back. Right now, California, and indeed all of our communities, are facing some of their biggest challenges in 70 years. To confront those challenges head-on, we don't need on-the-job training or getting up to speed on the learning curve or getting to know the issues. We need experience to continue to push us forward. I have that experience learned by a lifetime of service to this community. I've been on this dais long enough to know that government cannot solve all our problems, nor should it. Government can, however, be the catalyst to bring about change, but it takes experience to do so. I'm proud to be endorsed by Assemblymember Freddie Rodriguez and Congressmember Norma Torres, as well as the United Food and Commercial Workers and the Southwest Council of Carpenters. I also have a long list of other elected officials, both local, state, and federal. Business, as well as labor, is important to me. I'm supported by Democrats and Republicans and independents. I have a very long and very established relationship with many of our representatives, both in Sacramento and Washington, D.C., built up over a lifetime of service. Most importantly, I believe I'm supported by the families that make up our community, who realize that we are not to be divided and subdivided along lines of race, creed, class, or nationality, but we are one community, one people, all deserving of respect, dignity, and equality. It's that simple. It's that profound. I look at our community and see families who wake up every day, pay their taxes, take their children to school, go to work, and they never, ever complain. I ask you on November 8th to vote for someone who will continue to unite this community, who will work for the good of everyone who calls Montclair home, and most importantly, to vote for someone who has been tried, tested, and has the experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mendez, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. In conclusion, I would like to thank the residents, business owners, city staff, the city, Chamber of Commerce, and the CAC again for affording me the time and opportunity to share some of the reasons why I would be a great council team member for the city of Montclair. Over the years as a manager, I have worked well with all staff and the city manager, Edward Starr. I understand that if the residents of Montclair vote for me, and if I am blessed to fill one of the seats on this dais, I will be working for the residents to provide the best services and policies for them. The city of Montclair has a team of very capable staff members who can provide thorough research and facts to allow the council to make informed decisions. At the same time, each city council member must do their due diligence and vote thoughtfully for the residents without rubber stamping any agenda items. I would enjoy working with all the current council that are here if I were to be elected. The city needs to work closer with all major utilities and provide services that provide services to the city, so our residents and business owners could get the best services available to them. We need to make sure that each utility company has the infrastructure to provide quality service when demand is high. I want to see much more police presence and greater community involvement from both police and fire. Building relationships with the community benefits our officers, fire personnel, and residents. Let's make sure that leadership is key to the success of each department and its employees. The youth in our city needs more options for sports and activities. Our parks need quality equipment that is safe and properly maintained to allow our youth to enjoy their free time. I want to see more pride of ownership in our neighborhoods. I want to see our investments continue to flourish while being neighborly and watching out for each other's properties. Let's reinvest back into our neighborhoods. As your next city council member, I will honestly consider all issues and concerns that impact the community. I will make sure long-term goals are practical in such a changing environment. I will promote greater collaboration between local businesses and our community to enhance other activities such as youth sports. I would like more transparency and dialogue from each city department, such as periodic workshops with city staff, so the city is more accountable to its residents. I will bring strong leadership, institutional knowledge, and experience to help move us forward. My passion for this city is genuine. Please vote for me, so together we can make Montclair a safe and comfortable place to call home and raise our families. Please vote Xavier Mendez on November 8th, 2022. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you. I'd also like to thank the city, the CAC for hosting this event, and to the Women's Club for providing the refreshments that are outside. So there were some statements that stuck out to me, and I would just like to quote them. So for Ms. Orozco, she wants to continue momentum. That's what she said, continue momentum. From Mr. Mendez, maintain quality of living. From Mayor Pro Tem Rue, continue progress. Mayor Dutrey echoed those same sentiments. I have been on the council now for 3 years. It's not a very long time. The majority of that time that I've served on the council has been pivotal. I have made decisions related to the pandemic, related to major contract negotiations, Measure L, cannabis, the Montclair Place transition, which is going to create offices and park space, South Montclair development, which includes logistical centers, single-family home projects, and neighborhood shopping centers, the specific plan. I've been very vocal about the importance of connecting all of our city to the trails that are being developed, to the parks that are being developed and improved. I've voted on issues that will affect Benson Central and Holt Boulevard pavement and rehabilitation, the Mills Avenue, Mission Boulevard, Monte Vista Avenue, Palo Verde and Rickton Street roadway improvements, which provides safer street designs, routes to schools. When residents have raised concerns about safety in that regard, I have been vocal about making sure we act on it. In the future, I hope to sit here when we get the Gold Line extension. I hope to see broadband internet. I hope to see more affordable daycare for working class families, more youth involvement, which is something that I've already been working on. The comments stated by my candidate colleagues to the right mean that we're doing something right. And in the 3 years that I have been there, I have been accessible, present. I work well with others. I'm respectful. I love my community members, the residents reaching out to me. I love doing what I do, and I really would love the opportunity to continue to be able to do that for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, I would like to thank the candidates for participating tonight. You guys all did a great job. Thank you for allowing me to ask you questions. I'm sure whichever of you get picked by the public, they will be in good hands. Also want to thank the audience tonight. Some of those questions were a little intense. We had quite a bit of them. Doing this for the last couple of times, the questions tonight were very detailed and very thought out, and so that was, appreciate that. Also, I want to encourage everybody to get out and vote, because if you don't vote tonight, or not tonight, if you don't vote on November 8th, then change won't take place, or, you know, none of these people will be out there. So somebody will vote for them. But the City Council's candidate forum is hosted by the Montclair Community Activities Commission in partnership with the Montclair Chamber of Commerce. Refreshments were provided tonight courtesy of the Women's Club of Montclair. And with that, I want to thank you all for attending and wish you all a very nice evening.